Fenway Park in Boston, ESPN's Baseball Tonight presents an American League East battle between the Toronto Blue Jays and Boston Red Sox. David Wells starting for the Jays, Wes Gardner for the Red Sox. Hello once again, everyone, and welcome to ESPN's Baseball Tonight. I'm John Saunders. It should be another good matchup at Fenway Park. The Red Sox are now a half game in front of the Toronto Blue Jays thanks to last night's victory, which ended a 15-game winning streak at Fenway Park for the Blue Jays. Bottom of the sixth, game tied at 7. Willie Blair to Jody Reed gone. 8-7. The Sox are up, and Dennis Lamp, a former Jay, was terrific in 5 1/3 innings of relief, striking out George Bell here. Bell was 0 for 5. The Red Sox win it 10-8. So the American League East standings look like this. Red Sox 40-29, a half game in front of the Jays. The Cleveland Indians 6.5 back. Milwaukee 7.5 behind. Detroit, Baltimore, and the Yankees, who are still at dead last. Now, one score is done from this afternoon. This one in the National League East. The Montreal Expos, a 6-5 winner over the Chicago Cubs. Jerry Goff, a pinch hit home run. Larry Walker with a 2-run single. He was 2 for 5. Dave Martinez drove in a run, and Mike Fitzgerald had 3 hits and 2 runs in the game. Ryan Sandberg had his 22nd home run. Andre Dawson had his 18th. Some other stories will be following tonight. The New York Mets are streaking in the National League East. They're in St. Louis. They've won 7 straight games. They're 2 games back of the Pirates. The White Sox just 1 game back of the Oakland A's. They're in California. And the Texas Rangers, Kevin Brown, 79 pitches his last time out. He'll face Minnesota again, looking for his 10th victory. 4-hit shutout against the Twins last time. Game number 2 tonight at 10:30 Eastern Time. The Kansas City Royals and the Seattle Mariners. Tom Flash Gordon, 4-4, faces Brian Holman, who's 8-5 on the season. But we have baseball to come. We'll be with you all night long here on Baseball Tonight. Next, let's go to Fenway Park in Boston and join the Toronto Blue Jays and Boston Red Sox after these messages. Stay with us.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Minolta, leaders in business equipment for over 25 years. By Budweiser Beechwood Age for that clean, crisp taste. This Bud's for you. By Campbell Hausfeld Air Compressors and Tools. See your local dealer. And by MCI. Let us show you.
ESPN's Baseball Tonight from Fenway Park in Boston. Tonight, the Red Sox play host to the Toronto Blue Jays. Good evening, I'm Bob Carpenter, and until last night, Toronto had dominated here, winning 15 consecutive games against the Red Sox. But Bill Robinson, the Sox took care of Dave Stieb last night. What a plus for them in the first game of the series, getting rid of the other team's ace pitcher.
Anytime you can beat the ace pitcher of another team, it has to give you a psychological lift. Now, Boston knows that they can come back with their number 3 and number 4. In this case, Roger Clemens and Mike Boddicker. They have a definite chance of sweeping this series here in Boston.
That's if they can win tonight with Boddicker and Clemens going the next couple of nights. And then we also have a matchup of the 2 top hitting teams here in the American League from the average standpoint.
David Wells has to face a real tough Boston Red Sox team, predominantly right-handed. On the other hand, Wes Gardner, struggling a bit, has to face one of the toughest hitting clubs, in my opinion, in the Toronto Blue Jays.
Because of their power and all those switch hitters, you like the Jays lineup. So it's a fascinating matchup at Fenway Park this evening as these 2 teams continue to battle for first place in the American League East. The Red Sox and the Blue Jays tonight on ESPN. And from Fenway Park in Boston, the Sears diehard starting lineup tonight for the Toronto Blue Jays, hitting .270. That's the second best figure in the American League. Junior Felix leads off in right field with Tony Fernandez at short and Kelly Gruber at third. The cleanup man is the league's player of the week, George Bell. Fred McGriff at first, and the DH is John Olerud, having a good rookie year. Catcher Greg Myers, followed by second baseman Manny Lee and the center fielder Mookie Wilson. Defensively, the Red Sox have a welcome addition to their outfield as Tom Bernansky is back. Ellis Burks in center with Mike Greenwell at left. Wade Boggs with Luis Rivera, Jody Reed up the middle. Carlos Quintana at first base. Tony Pena, the catcher, and he's handling the 29-year-old right-hander with a record of 1-4. A little bit deceiving for Wes Gardner because Bill Robinson, he has been very good as a starting pitcher in spots this year.
And especially in his last 2 starts. And don't let the 1-4 with the 6.28 ERA fool you. Wes Gardner is just now getting over a sore arm that he had in spring training. And he's starting to throw bullets again. This young man does have a great arm. He throws good hard fastball, sinker, Pretty good slider, and he'll change speeds. He must keep the ball down and stay confident in order to win.
And he'll change speeds with the forkball. He was on the disabled list back in April because of elbow problems coming out of spring training. And the Red Sox here at Fenway Park with a record of 23-11, the kind of record you would expect them to have. Al Clark calls the balls and strikes. Ted Hendry, Larry McCoy, and John Hirschbeck on the bases. A veteran crew from all over the nation gathering here with a good crowd at Fenway Park this evening. It's a gorgeous night in Boston. Temperature in the low 80s. The sun is setting, and it's, well, just simply one of the best places to watch a baseball game if you're a baseball fan, and we're glad you are with us tonight on ESPN. Junior Felix steps in, hitting a .295 with the on-base average up in the .376 range. Young man's got some power with 10 home runs and 41 runs batted in. And he's a switch hitter who's hitting very well from the all-important left side for a leadoff man. A figure of .331, and he gets out of the box quickly, Bill, along with that power.
And he can put your team up with 10 home runs. He can put a game or put the team up 1-0 with one swing of the bat.
This is a player who throughout his major league career will have that strange stance deep in the box, and you'll hear about him in the same vein as Bobby Bonds in years past and Ricky Henderson of years present, of young leadoff hitters who can hit those home runs to give their team a 1-0 lead before anybody else hits.
Right, has that pronounced open stance, meaning his front foot is further away from home plate than his back foot. I never believed in a stance like that, because on your front foot, when you step, you more or less have to step toward the pitcher, toward home plate. And when you step toward home plate, at times I would think it would make you real vulnerable to some good hard fastballs and not able to turn. But he does have 10 home runs, and who am I to second guess him?
The results have been there since Cito Gaston, the Toronto manager, made the recent lineup change, moving Felix up to the +1 spot, Tony Fernandez down to #2, and Mookie Wilson down to the bottom of the order.
And there was a case right there with Wes Gardner throwing that good 90-plus fastball inside that Felix just wasn't able to get around on and try to kill one of the fans over here in the stand.
They're close to the action at Fenway as Felix fouls another one, this one back to the screen. How do these two teams compare? Well, Toronto is 22-12 against the Eastern Division. So is Boston, exactly the same. Both teams have better than 500 records at home, though the Blue Jays have struggled in going 20-19 at their Sky Dome. Fisted, Felix fouls one back, and it makes it to the screen by about 2 feet out of the reach of Tony Pena. The Red Sox start the night a half game ahead of Toronto in the American League East.
Tony Pena can do no wrong here in Boston so far. They love him. They love what he's brought to this ball club, and what he's brought to this ball club is just excitement. He has the guys. Boston, to me, has always seemed like a laid-back kind of a ball club. When Tony Pena came over, he has guys giving high fives. They are really having fun around the batting cages, and it's just good for a ball club, and you can see why, because the Boston Red Sox are playing the best baseball of the year.
Fastball upstairs evens the count at 2-2. Bill, to be quite honest, from an announcer's standpoint, the Red Sox locker room, clubhouse, has never been a very pleasant place to visit before ball games. That has really changed now. It's a happy place. Down the right field line, Reed and Brunansky. The guy they call Bruno makes the call. And it takes a battle of 3 minutes and about 9 pitches for Wes Gardner to take care of Junior Felix.
Well, no matter how you get the job done, the good thing about that is that Wes Gardner has the ability now to take just a little bit off this ball. He throws just a little bit of a dead fish, more or less a BP fastball, and he gets Junior Felix out front. That's what he has to do in order to be effective. You can't continually in the major leagues try to blow guys away. You have to change speed, keep them off balance.
Tony Fernandez. Hitting a rather uncustomary .261, but if you saw the graphic, you saw that his on-base average is nearly 100 points better. .354, not a real good figure for a leadoff man, but for a #2 man who's giving himself up and moving runners around, .354, not bad at all.
And did you see those 2 fastballs that Wes Gardner just threw? He's telling now that my arm feels 100%. It might be hurting out there now, but the 2 fastballs that he's thrown Tony Fernandez, he's thrown right by him.
Really, for the first time this year, Wes Gardner has his velocity back after his spell on the disabled list, and he's throwing with control, going right after hitters with his good fastball and the hard curve. Occasional change of speeds, as Bill alluded to, on the out to Felix. So this guy's back, and he's always been known for having a live arm. And Tony Fernandez on a breaking ball in the dirt is gone. Pena throws for the out at first base. So it's K number 1, and it goes 2-3 on the putout, and the bases are empty with 2 down now. Kelly Gruber will be the hitter. A live arm, but where have the results been? That's the big question about Wes Gardner the last couple of seasons. It was only 3-7 with an ERA of 6 a year ago.
And about 3 years ago, when the Mets traded him up here to Boston, they really felt that they were giving up something. He throws, like I said, and as you can see, he throws the ball real hard. I think one of the biggest things is Wes has always lacked confidence. If you can stay close, he has that moniker. If you can stay close to him, you will beat him.
A ball and a strike to Kelly Gruber. A 19 home run hitter now. He hit his first 12 of the year at home, hit the next one indoors out in Seattle, and has kept the power going. He's not been one of those early season flashes in the pan. Kelly's been a pretty consistent power hitter for Toronto.
In the last 3 years, he has been the most consistent. And also, if he does not start in the All-Star game this year, there's something wrong. He is vastly underrated, maybe because he is in Toronto. He doesn't get the press that some of the other guys get. But Kelly Gruber, in my book, is the premier third baseman in baseball.
Well, he's hitting a lot higher. At least has most of the season than Wade Boggs. 13 points better right now. But obviously has much more power than Boggs. 3-1 pitch. Fastball fouled off to the right, 3-2. And Kelly Gruber homered here last night. And that set his personal high with his 19th home run of the season. He has a 6-game hitting streak going. Cito Gaston, every time he turns around, one of his players is player of the week. It's George Bell this time. Kelly Gruber earlier, but he strikes out on a high breaking ball. Couple of strikeouts, and the Blue Jays go quietly in the first inning at Fenway. Here's the Sears diehard starting lineup for the Boston Red Sox, and now you know who the #1 team in the league is, hitting .271 with Wade Boggs, Jody Reed, and Mike Greenwell, the top 3. The middle of the order, Tom Bernatsky, Dwight Evans, and Ellis Burks, Tony Pena, Carlos Quintana, and Luis Rivera at the bottom of the Boston order. Blue Jays with Junior Felix, Mookie Wilson, and George Bell right to left across the outfield. Kelly Gruber at third with Tony Fernandez and Manny Lee, part of that platoon at second base up the middle. Fred McGriff at first. Greg Myers, back from his injuries, is back behind the plate, and he's handling the 27-year-old left-hander who's making his first career start against the Red Sox, hard-throwing David Wells.
David Wells will kill a fly with a sledgehammer, so to speak. He gives nothing out there. David Wells has a tremendous fastball, has a good curveball, and, so to speak, the guts of a burglar. He comes right at you. And he's 5-1, but 4-0 as a starter.
And his strikeout to walk ratio, right of your screen, something to behold. Better than 3-1 with 52 Ks and 12 walks on the year. And opponents are hitting .215 against him. And Bill, over the last year or so, despite the earring, he has.
I was just going to say that.
I know you were. He has
boy.
found a way to get the job done against right-handed hitters who are looking right at that earring when he comes home. They only hit 198 against him a year ago.
It must be deceiving.
Maybe that's what they're looking at.
Boy.
They can't hit this guy. Well, the Blue Jays, look how much better their pitching is on the road. Just a game over 500, as we alluded to earlier, at the Sky Dome in Toronto. which is really turning into a hitter's park and maybe to their disadvantage.
Well, before we got into the ear ring and I got off the track a little bit, one reason why he throws and has had good success, he throws good hard fastballs. I mean 90+ fastballs up. And I think a left-hander can pitch that can throw that hard, can get away with it. A la Sid Fernandez over in the National League. Anytime you throw high, hard fastballs, 90 miles an hour or better, you can get away with it. And I think in this league, because a lot of the hitters are slider ball kind of swings, meaning that they just don't catch up with that good hard fastball. That's probably one reason why he's been so successful against right-handers.
We'll see how tough Wade Boggs can be. Fastball for a strike to Boggs, hitting under 300, which is unusual. But something that's not unusual is his ability to get on base. That has always been a big part of his game. Down low, a ball and a strike.
Probably his worst start against left-handed pitching. He's only hitting .238 against left-handers, and he's facing one of the best left-handers in the league.
Up and away with that delivery. 2 balls and a strike. Red Sox, a team offensively built around one thing, batting average, because they're not hitting for much power, although Dwight Evans has come alive lately, and they're not running for speed, obviously. You have to think the power factor will be their strength down the stretch if they can keep Tom Bernansky healthy, who is now back in there to team with Evans and Ellis Burks in the middle of that lineup.
Right, with a pull hitter in Bernansky, the short porch naturally. He loves Boston. He loves Fenway Park. Anything can happen.
Boggs does some of his best hitting on foul balls. That pitch was away. He knew he couldn't do anything with it, but it was close enough to be swinging. So he just reached out and stroked it into the seats on the left side.
And does some of his best hitting when he has 2 strikes. He really cuts down on the swing, just tries to put the bat on the ball.
And he does to left field. Backing up is George Bell. It's off the monster. Boggs into second with a leadoff double. And I'm not so sure that ball wouldn't have been a rather easy out for George Bell if he could have gotten to the wall. It didn't hit that high off the monster.
It looked like George gave up on it a little too quickly. And as I'd said before, I have never seen a hitter in baseball that can hit behind in the count as much as Wade Boggs does. He lets fastball after fastball go until he gets 2 strikes, and then he just something just clicks in his mind. Of course, you're talking about a 340, 350 lifetime hitter, so it works for him.
Boggs with his 19th double of the year. George Bell could have caught that ball. It only hit about 6 or 7 feet up the wall. But he doesn't play here that many times, like Mike Greenwell does, Jim Rice did, and Carl Yastrzemski did. And Ted Williams, for that matter. Jody Reed, adept at moving runners, leads the Red Sox in sacrifices with 8. Boggs has 7. So he's looking to move the ball over to the right side and give Boston a chance with Greenwell next to take the early lead.
Joe Morgan said that Jody Reed is the best second baseman in the American League.
Up the middle. It'll freeze the runner at second. And out at first is Jody Reed, who hit the ball hard, but on a one-hopper right back to the mound. You have to study the dimensions at Fenway. The Green Monster's 37 feet high, where it's 315 down the line, 379 to the gap. Out there between 390 and 420, they call that the triangle here. Some outfielders call it the Bermuda Triangle. To the right of there, the bullpens, 380 straight away right, a measly 302 at a severe angle down the right field line.
Yeah, another one of these old ballparks. Unfair for some guys and better for other guys.
Here's Mike Greenwell. Hitting has been rather unfair for him this year. Off to a terrible start in the RBI department after 2 big seasons. Only 20 RBIs for this guy in 69 ball games.
And only 2 home runs, and he hit both of those in 1 game in April.
Greenwell did not drive a run in the first 2 weeks of the season. Fastball tails in but stays on the corner. Nasty pitch. 0-2 as Greenwell stares at Al Clark.
And I think one thing in watching Mike Greenwell hitting in the last couple of months and really around the cage today. I think he is so leery about his inability to hit home runs at the time that he is just pressing and just really swinging too hard. Home runs come when you least expect them, not when you try to hit home runs. And I really think that he's muscling up. And when you muscle up and you don't relax your hands and you don't throw your bat, it causes your bat to drag through the strike zone. And his best shot now is maybe a little dribbler or just a Texas slugger to left field.
I saw him after that foul ball jerking his right shoulder in, trying to tell himself to keep that shoulder in against the left-hander.
Yeah, and David will make you pull that shoulder and a lot of other parts of your body.
Got a fastball over the mound. Waiting for it is Lee. Quick release, and he got in. 2 down, and moving over to third base, Wade Boggs.
And again, this is what we talked about. He is fighting every pitch off. That pitch is very hittable if you just go ahead and turn. But he is just not extending, not getting his club head out. He hit that ball right off his handles on a slider that was out over the plate, a pitch that he normally, in the last couple of years, would drive.
Tom Bernansky, back from his shoulder injury. Good breaking ball for a strike. Bernansky, a .290 hitter. Those are his Boston numbers. He didn't do much in St. Louis. 2 RBIs in 19 games for Whitey Herzog. 0-2.
Those are 2 good pitches right there. Bernansky's looking for that express and getting the local. We have a fly ball pitcher and a fly ball hitter. Let's see who wins this battle.
Fastball driven to left center. A run scores as Bernansky doubles with 2 down.
You have a fly ball pitcher and a fly ball hitter. David Wells here makes a terrible, terrible mistake throwing Bernansky a fastball up. He had just thrown 2 good breaking pitches. Why didn't he come maybe in second guessing a little bit? Why didn't he come with something maybe away a little bit or really out over the strike zone? That is a terrible mistake and a terrible pitch. And when you have to face Bernansky and a guy like Dwight Evans is swinging the bat now, your team could be down 2-0 or 3-0.
Dwight Evans has been red hot. He's tied for number 31 on the all-time home run list after hitting number 374 over the weekend. 8 of them this year. 38 runs batted in. And a mistake by the Blue Jays as Manny Lee broke to the bag, and the pitcher David Wells took the pitch home. Not supposed to happen, and a big gaping hole was on the right side of the infield as Manny Lee was around the bag with the runner. 1 ball, 1 strike. Breaking ball down low. And Bill, as a former Met, you've got to love this story. The folks here in Boston are really moaning about the fact now that after his home run yesterday, or Sunday rather, that the fans demanded that Dewey come out and take a curtain call. That is unheard of at Fenway as they borrow a page from the '86 Mets.
And did he come out?
Eventually. He didn't want to, but to shut down the crowd, he finally crawled up to the top step.
Well, these are appreciative fans. They know talent. They can judge talent. They're
yeah,
very
but they hate borrowing anything from New York up here.
Well, but again, that's a good point, but I have no answer. I have no comeback to that. Yeah, they don't like the Mets very well.
Or the Yankees. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Red Sox with a couple of doubles by Boggs and Bernansky with the first inning lead, and Evans with a 2-out RBI opportunity. Fought off the breaking ball.
Yeah, I know this is a new breed and it's new baseball, but I really have trouble staring at a pitcher with an earring in his ear. I really do. I'm sorry.
Well, if he throws 90 plus, don't stare at him too long if you're in there.
I still have trouble.
Okay. Off the end of the bat, Manny Lee charges, waits for a couple of big hops in. The Red Sox are gone in the first, but the extra base hit power of Boggs and Bernansky gives Boston a 1-0 lead after 1.
Last week, shortstop Spike Owen of the Montreal Expos had his errorless string end at 63. That's a National League record. In the American League, Cal Ripken Jr., after Devereaux with the error here, tries to hit the cutoff man, who's Cal Ripken, can't hang on to the ball. That Ripken's first error in 67 games, 5 short of Eddie Brinkman's major league record. It's 1-0. Meantime, the Giants and the Reds. Danny Jackson in the first inning to Kevin Mitchell with Will Clark aboard. This one's gone in a hurry, a 2-run home run. That's where they stand now. They're in the top of the second inning. 2-0 San Francisco. Back to Bob and Bill.
Number 19 for Kevin Mitchell. That ties him with Glenn Davis for the number 2 spot in the National League with that long one. Ryan Sandberg is the league leader with 21. And speaking of power, such a big part of Fenway, George Bell leads off the second inning for the Blue Jays. Breaking ball low and away from Wes Gardner. George is the American League Player of the Week, but the next time he wins the award, the Blue Jays aren't going to tell him. When he was the Player of the Week the first time, they were in Milwaukee, and the next night he went 0 for 4. Player of the Week again announced here in Boston yesterday, and George went out and went 0 for 5 last night. So a collective 0 for 9 on the heels of the good news, and maybe he'll get another good week started here tonight.
Well, I kind of think that this Fenway Park had something to do with it. Watching George play yesterday at the game when I attended, that George was looking at that short left field wall, and his head was flying on everything, just swinging as hard as he can, or as hard as he could, trying to hit a home run only 320 feet away.
Good breaking ball. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, this is not a bad breaking ball, but it's certainly a hittable breaking ball there. And George, again, as you see, he's just pulling off that ball, and he's sort of telling the umpire that I don't think that was a strike, but when you don't watch the ball, it is a strike, George.
Either that, or he was telling himself, that's a pitch I should have taken out of here. Now the count goes full 3-2 with Fred McGriff on deck. John Olerud to follow in the Toronto second. Red Sox have won 2 of the first 3 between the clubs this year. Bell reaching, little pop fly into center. Jody Reed got there. Ellis Burks was playing deep. He had no chance, and Reed was running right off the delivery.
Well, we had said that Joe Morgan thinks that Jody Reed is the best all-around second baseman in baseball. All around because he has the ability to do that. He has the ability to hit. He's hitting home runs. He's turning double plays. He is the best second baseman in the American League. Fine play, Jody.
And Fred McGriff is next. McGriff, the victim of a season-ending power outage in '89 that is somewhat carried over into 1990. You expect to see George Bell and Fred McGriff with more RBIs than they have. Bell's doing his part. He's got 56. But McGriff with only 38 RBIs nearly halfway into the season, Bill. That is way too few for Toronto to win this division.
And he's starting to pick up a little bit because he is now becoming more aggressive. And you can look for Wes Gardner, who is throwing extremely hard to throw if he keeps the ball down. Fred McGriff is a good low ball hitter.
At the letters, outside corner, 2-1.
Well, he won't hit that one. Whoa. And again, let's look at Tony Peña's setup. Tony Peña can work a pitcher with the best of them. Look at that good low target he gives. Good low target. He's constantly running out. He's constantly yelling at his pitchers. Come on, you can do it. Keep the ball down. He throws the ball at times back to the pitcher harder than the pitcher throws it to him. A little change up here.
Got him on the breaking ball. That was a nasty one, down and in. Strikeout number 3 for Gardner, who's retired 5 straight.
This is one of those unhittable sliders right here. A lot of times the best thing to do as a young pitcher is to get ahead with strikes. If you get ahead with strikes, you can get them out with breaking pitches, not for strikes, because hitters become more aggressive when a pitcher gets ahead with strikes.
Here's John Olerud, who had a big night here last evening. Yeah, that's what pitchers call my pitch,
Yes.
not your pitch. Olerud has the average up to 298, having an outstanding rookie season. Hit the ball for power here last night.
He has a good eye at the plate, a good quiet approach to the ball. He is very quiet. In order to be a good hitter, you must have slow feet and then quick hands. Watch his stride with his front foot. Watch how nice and methodic it is. Watch when he strides forward, his hands go back. Nice and easy. It's really no jump with the ball. That time he sort of jumped a little bit at the ball, but normally he is very, very slow and methodic. Slow feet, quick hands. If you have fast feet, it'll make you have too quick a hands, and it'll make you lunge, uppercut, or pull off the ball.
Gardner's battled back to even the count at 2-2. Wes Gardner 1-4, his 13th appearance, 4th game started. And he's been fairly hittable this year. Olerud has been hitting everybody over the last week. Those statistics started when these two clubs met in Toronto last week for a pair. They split those. Red Sox won here last night. And this series has been a fascinating one because last year each team dominated in the other's ballpark. Toronto won 8 of 13 and all 6 here, extending their streak to 15 consecutive before the Red Sox won last night. On the inside corner. 4 strikeouts for Gardner. He's retired the side 2 consecutive innings and has a 1-0 lead. From the renovated press box at Fenway Park in Boston, ESPN's Baseball Tonight, an inning and a half in, and the home team on an RBI double by Tom Bernansky with a 1-0 lead after an inning and a half. This copyrighted telecast, presented by authority of Major League Baseball, and may not be rebroadcast or retransmitted in any form without the expressed written consent of Major League Baseball. Bob Carpenter with Bill Robinson on a Tuesday evening. Couple of hits for the Red Sox so far. Nothing doing offensively for the Jays. In the bottom of the second, the numbers 6, 7, and 8 hitters, Ellis Burks, Tony Pena, and Carlos Quintana will bat for the Red Sox.
And you got to really love the way Wes Gardner has thrown the ball in the last 2 innings. He has just been devastating. They said his arm is back.
David Wells starts the right-hander with a breaking ball that missed. Ellis Burks up around 300. He's got it on the rise, doesn't he, after a bad April?
He is vastly becoming one of the premier center fielders in the game.
There's a pop-up left side. Kelly Gruber and Tony Fernandez. Shortstop, we'll call it. 1 out.
A very interesting pitch selection. And when I played, when I always had trouble with the Los Angeles Dodgers, because the Dodgers always started me off with a breaking pitch. If they started me off with a breaking pitch, it was just a little tougher for me to gauge a fastball the rest of the game. David Wells against Ellis Burks there threw him a good, hard curveball. Then he came back with just a little sneaky fastball, and that's one reason why Ellis Burks popped that ball up.
Why not step out on the first one and not look at the breaking ball?
That's what you would do.
That's right. Well, a little easier to figure it out up here, right? Here's Pena. That fastball up high. Tony, a positive influence in the ball club, as Bill noted earlier. Happy disposition. He's got everybody talking and jabbering around the clubhouse. But if you can't do those things that you need to do on the field on an everyday basis, it makes no difference. Going the opposite way, he singles. Bill, I talked about that a couple of years ago down in Texas with Darryl Porter, who during his major league career with the Brewers, the Cardinals, and the Royals was a leader. But he was frustrated at the end of his career because he thought the Texas team lacked leadership. But if you're not an everyday player, which he then wasn't at that stage, you really can't take that role on the ball club.
It's tough, an everyday player or a starting pitcher. They had some problems a little bit in New York, but with Frank Viola was trying to become a leader. When you're not out there every day, it's a little tough to be a leader. But I just don't believe in leaders in the game. I believe in you lead by example. Go out and play as hard as you can. Buddy Harrelson told me over the weekend that I asked him about co-captains.
Well, ask him about this one because it's on the turnpike. Whoa! Carlos Quintana.
Now look at that bench. Look how excitable they are. Carlos Quintana is hitting 385 off of left-handers. Don't throw him that fastball down. I talked about David Wells as a good high left-handed pitcher. Good high hard fastballs. Not down there. His ball just does not have that giddy up on it down.
Down and in to Luis Rivera. And the Red Sox are serving notice here that the Blue Jays are not going to come into their ballpark and beat up on them anymore. 3-0 Boston lead. There's a high fly, short left center. Mookie Wilson waving George Bell off it for the second out. Your point about Buddy Harrelson.
Yes, Buddy Harrelson we talked about. He started a new thing in having a few of the guys take lineups up, which is good. Get them involved. I asked him, are you saying that you are designating a Howard Johnson or a Darryl Strawberry as your co-captains? He said he does not like the word co-captains. He likes the word leader, and he only believes that you go out and you lead by example.
Base is empty, 2 outs. Wade Boggs led the way in the first inning with a leadoff double. After a couple of grounders, Tom Bernansky knocked him in, and Boggs thus scored his 41st run of the year. And Wade's waiting for the count to get even here at 2-2 so he can be a better hitter.
He'll probably take this pitch right down the middle. I mean, this is a pitch that, you know, Wells is starting to struggle a little bit, trying to overthrow. You know he's going to be trying to get back and get ahead. He's going to try to throw a strike. Wade might take this pitch.
Wade Boggs is back, folks, after the slow start. A 6-game hitting streak, 10 for his last 20. He's hit safely in 9 of his last 10, 18 of his last 22 games.
Oh, he swung.
Well, that's the home run swing. With 1 strike, he gives you the double swing. With 2 outs, or rather 2 strikes, then you get the singles swing.
Yeah, Wade is all over this pitch, and you can see, too, that he is so adept at trying to hit that ball to the left side, trying to pepper that green monster out there. Very seldom does Wade Boggs pull a ball, and again, when you're a greatest hitter as you are, Wade, you might as well go ahead and hit the ball 315 feet to left field. You got an easy single out of it. He has learned to use the friendly confines of Fenway Park, or Fenway Pack.
Fouled back and the count goes full. Yeah, I guess he likes the friendly confines. Coming into the game, he was hitting 381 here. He has 49 of his 73 hits here. David Wells roughed up here early by the Red Sox with a Bernansky double, a Quintana home run, driving in all the runs. It's 3-0 Red Sox. And Boggs down to first base with 2 outs, and let's get it back to our Baseball Tonight studio and John Saunders.
The Brewers and the Yankees, second inning. Andy Hawkins to Dave Parker takes this one out of there to tie the game 1-1. But it's also career hit number 2,499. Parker needs 1 more to become the 65th player to hit 2,500. Let's go back to Bob and Bill.
All right, John, an Eastern Division battle as well there as Cito Gaston and his pitching coach, Galen Cisco, watch this one in Boston. Yankees really the only team in the East without a clue for the division title right now. Even Baltimore in 6th place, 9.5 games out. For the Yankees, 14 back as they took the field against the Brewers tonight.
It seems like in this division, you go for 2 weeks and you're hot and you're right back in it. Cleveland jumped right back in it. not taking anything away from Cleveland. We'd watched them a couple of days ago, and they have some pretty good pitching. They have some guys that can put some numbers on the board too. But it's so competitive.
But Bill, I think the consensus is right now the two best teams in the division are these two at the top of the league right now.
And brought to you by ESPN. That's why we're here.
And that's why we were there last week in Toronto. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Maybe the other so-called elite team, if you can call any teams from this division elite, would be the Milwaukee Brewers. But injuries to their pitching staff have hurt them. But they're still on the fringe of the race and should contend before it's over.
Well, you hopefully you try to get all of your injuries out of the way before the All-Star break, and then get these guys healthy and get them healthy for September. I do believe that the team that comes up to the forefront naturally in September and can play consistent ball down the stretch during the grind will be the team that will win. There's nothing like a September race in baseball. It is one of the most exciting things, sports spectaculars. You can talk about World Cup, soccer, and everything else, but there's nothing like the good old game of baseball.
Well, here's how exciting it might be in September as this little flare goes into right field. Charging on is Junior Felix. The Red Sox will close the season at home with the Blue Jays here at Fenway. After 2, 3-0 Boston.
Back to Fenway Park in just a moment, but first let's check around the rest of the major leagues. The Milwaukee Brewers are now down to the Yankees. It's 2-1 in the second. Cleveland up over Baltimore 2-1. Brooke Jacoby has his 10th home run there, and it's scoreless in Minnesota as they face the Texas Rangers. In the National League this afternoon, the Expos a winner over the Cubs 6-5. Jerry Goff with a game-winning pinch hit home run in the 9th. Kevin Mitchell has a 2-run home run. Eric Davis has a home run. San Francisco leads Cincinnati 2-1. And Philadelphia in the first place Pittsburgh Pirates, they're scoreless in the 3rd. Let's get back to Fenway Park.
All right, John, and our folks may have seen that graphic for Kansas City at Seattle. That's our doubleheader game later on tonight at 10:30 Eastern time on ESPN. Top of the 3rd inning, Greg Myers for the Blue Jays. In that game in Seattle, Tom Flash Gordon for the Royals, and Brian Holman goes for Seattle later tonight. Greg Myers back from the shoulder injury that shelved him for a while earlier this year when he had a home plate collision in Toronto with Lou Whitaker of the Tigers. Pat Borders came in against all kinds of pitching and did a very good job while Myers was out. Borders on the year hitting .292, but this Toronto ball club has some good platoons in progress at second base and behind the plate with these two guys.
Good young talent throughout, and that's why I said that they are one of the best clubs, strongest lineups in baseball to pitch against.
Well played in left field by Mike Greenwell as that ball took off on him.
Sorry, not really known for defense. We see him go back on the ball. He knows where the fence is right here. He knows where that wall is. He's played it so many times.
There have been some great ones in that part of this historic ballpark. And they've all been good hitters, too. They had something like 3 left fielders in 40 years here. Manny Lee is the hitter, starting with Mr. Williams, continuing with Mr. Yastrzemski, and then Mr. Rice, and now Mike Greenwell. Manny Lee, a switch hitter, part of the second base platoon we alluded to with Nelson Liriano. Lee, the more accomplished player offensively. Liriano would be your better defensive infielder.
You talk about getting the most out of one position. We talked about platooning at second base and behind the plate. Together, Liriano and Lee combined for 87 RBI last year. I mean, that is fantastic out of your middle infielder.
That's Ryne Sandberg territory. Little liner foul. A ball and 2 strikes. Manny Lee can play second or short. He had a good season last year as a switch hitter, hit .295 from the right side. And this year he's got it up to .308 as part of that .289 overall average. But Swinging lefty tonight, where he's hitting .263. Pretty nasty breaking ball by Wes Gardner. Strikeout number 5, 2 outs. It's Strawberry and the Mets on a rampage through the National League East. They continue their series in St. Louis tomorrow night. Buddy Harrelson has the Mets on fire. Some of you will see the Indians at Baltimore Wednesday night at 7:30 Eastern time on ESPN. Right now, the Mets are a scant 2 games back of the Pirates in the National League East, and they won in St. Louis last night. Tonight, they're throwing Ron Darling against Bryn Smith, and you'll see him tomorrow night in St. Louis. Here's Mookie Wilson, a former Met, and a spark plug for the Toronto Ball Club late in the '89 season to lead them into postseason play.
As popular as Tony Pena is here in Boston, that's how popular Mookie Wilson is in Toronto. And good reasons why. Mookie plays the game hard, very, very lovable, very likable man. And can also play the game of baseball.
Split time between the Mets and the Jays last year, 80 games in New York, hit .205, but then he came alive in the American League with .298 over the last 54 games for Toronto, including 12 stolen bases.
Well, outside of the new lease on life that really generates and does some things to a ball player, one of the things that Mookie has always been is a pretty good off-speed hitter. He does not at times, maybe because of his age, I don't know, but he just does not at times catch up with that good fastball. But you throw him those off-speed pitches and some mediocre curveballs, Mookie will kill you. And occasionally, if you throw him a fastball down, you can get him up, not down.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Got around a little late on that heater from Gardner, who's throwing the ball very hard here tonight. He has fanned 5 in 2 2/3 innings.
Yeah, we were talking about Mookie is just a good off-speed hitter and hits the ball down. But fastballs up and in, tough for him to handle, tough for him to get around on.
Fly ball right center, fairly deep, but Ellis Burks in front of the triangle with room, and this inning is over. And that's 9 in a row for Wes Gardner, including 5 Ks. After 2.5, Sox 3, Jays 0. Well, nights like this are what baseball tonight is all about. Gorgeous June evening at Fenway Park in Boston. And the folks are happy here because after 2.5, the Red Sox lead the Blue Jays 3-0 on 4 hits. Mike Greenwell, Tom Bernansky, and Dwight Evans, the heart of the Boston order, to bat here in the 3rd inning against the left-hander David Wells.
And David Wells really needs to establish a pattern. David Wells is just throwing now. David Wells, in my opinion, with that blazing fastball, is sort of afraid to pitch inside. Not really to left-handers, but really to right-handers. I talked to Al Jackson many years ago when he was a pitching coach here, and he said, you always have the fantasy about not throwing left-handers in this ballpark. He said he liked throwing left-handers in this ballpark because he wanted the left-hander to pitch to his strength or to a hitter's strength, and that was inside. You try to pitch a hitter in outside here, right-handed, as his curveball just knocks over Mike's head, that he really gets in trouble. And that's what's happened to Wells now. Every pitch that they've hit on him has been right there. No location at all. He's just throwing the ball now.
And behind in the count, 3-0 to Greenwell, who grounded to the second baseman his initial time up. Well, there's a left-hander in the National League now who's a rich man because he worked inside pretty well here at Fenway. That's Bruce Hurst of San Diego. His forte at Fenway Park was busting that hard stuff of his right in on the right-handed hitters and then forcing them to use the big part of the ballpark when he followed that with pitches away.
Right, you always think 315 down the left field line. There's no way in the world as a left-hander I can pitch a guy inside. He's just going to pull it and he'll just tattoo that wall all day. Well, right-handers, ladies and gentlemen, do not like to face left-handers that throw in and throw in hard. You like that ball out away from you a little bit, but not when they continually bust you inside. Hank Aaron used to hate to face left-handers. Here's a man that hit 14 million home runs and hated hitting left-handers.
Here's Tom Bernansky. Only thing he hated was his lack of production in St. Louis. He said he was tired of hitting his best shot at Busch Stadium and watching it fall into the glove of an opposing outfielder on the warning track there in that big ballpark. In his Minnesota career at Fenway Park, he had 10 homers, 31 runs batted in 32 Twins games here. So he was happy about coming back to the American League and to Boston. Down low, 2-0, and if you fall behind the count to this hitter, you're flirting with a 5-0 deficit. With the wind blowing out toward the left field corner at Fenway.
Of course, the wind, you don't have to worry about the wind in short left field. Just go ahead and just mash on that ball. Just beat on it, Tommy. Now, that's a good pitch right there. If Bernansky, who has a pretty good eye and seeing the ball well, if Bernansky in that situation tries to go ahead and swings at that pitch, he gets jammed, hits the ball to the third baseman, they turn a double play.
Yeah, but isn't that a better pitch a little earlier in the count than 2-0?
Sure, that is that. But at least now he's establishing some things. He might be able to get Bernansky with a fastball up again. He might be able to get Bernansky with a fastball away. But at least he's put some more fear or another doubt in Bernansky's mind.
A drive to right center. It dies for Mookie Wilson, who wheels and gets it back in. Almost to second base was Greenwell, who has to retreat. That ball was hit pretty well by Bernansky, but it appeared the wind knocked it down in right center field, and it was not a difficult play for Mookie.
Right, well, the wind is blowing out, and I guarantee you on that, Bernansky just did not have that good in it that you need because of that one pitch that wells through inside.
One on, one out for Dwight Evans.
Excuse me, anytime you can put a fear, and I hate to say this as a former hitting instructor and a hitter all of my life and not really liking pitchers, anytime that a pitcher can make a hitter think something different or just flinch his head or do something different, then that hitter 9 times out of 10 is at bay.
And it's appropriate that you talk about thinking at the plate as Dwight Evans comes up, because talking hitting with this guy is one of the more cerebral experiences you'll have in a clubhouse. He is very aware of all the facets, and right now he's trying to work on his good balance at the plate, and the results have been there the last week or so.
Yes, we talked at length today. The three of us talked, and I've always been an admirer of Dwight Evans. He is a fine gentleman, and we talked about balance, and I've always been a believer that if you have a good setup or a good balance that allows you to have a good stride, that allows you to have a good swing. He felt that, and even Walt Rainiac, he said Walt Rainiac used to come behind him and say, hey, do you have good balance? Dwight would say yes. Walt would just push him over with one finger, and he'd say, no, you don't.
Well, he got his first extra base hit in quite a while a week ago in Toronto. A drive to left center at the Sky Dome, and that's when we saw Dwight Evans start to come out of his funk. And now he took it into the weekend with some home runs. Has the fans back on his side here. One of the most popular ambassadors of baseball in this city that loves baseball so much. Up the middle, double play ball. Manny Lee turns it on a nice feed from Fernandez. 6-4-3, the Jays #1 in defense in the league, and they show you why. But they trail 3-0 after 3.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi Motors dealer. By the makers of Definex Athlete's Foot Medication. By Midas and its dealers across the country. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. And by Showtime. Showtime exclusives. Here you see them, there you don't.
Gorgeous night at Fenway Park in Boston. 3 innings in the books here. Red Sox over the Blue Jays 3-0. They've out-hit them for zip. A perfect 3 innings for Wes Gardner on the mound, and Junior Felix bats for the second time, leading off the 4th for Toronto. Felix flied to right his first time after a long battle. He's been the most difficult hitter, other than Greg Myers, that Wes Gardner has had. Felix battled him to a full count and fouled off 3 or 4 before flying out. Myers hit a shot to left that required a good play by Greenwell an inning ago. And Felix has started off with a fastball for strike 1.
I know it's only 3 innings, but Wes Gardner has really impressed me just coming after the hitters. One thing that I had heard in the clubhouse and in talking to a few of the coaches, especially the number 3, 4, and 5 starters, they are so sick and tired of the bad rap that they're getting, saying that, hey, we need another starter real bad. So they have a lot of pride, and they're saying now, we're going to take the bull by the horns. If they do need another starter, it's not going to be me, as evident as the way Wes Gardner is throwing that baseball.
Well, I'll tell you something about those other 3 guys. Greg Harris, a journeyman right-hander, is 7-3. Dana Kicker threw great when we saw him in Toronto a week ago. And Wes Gardner is throwing even better than he did here tonight. This could be a scary staff with Jeff Reardon back healthy, as the Blue Jays and the Red Sox look down the stretch in the American League East. Reardon, by the way, with back problems. He has been out since June 15th, says, quote, I am ready to pitch if Joe Morgan needs me.
Well, he came in yesterday and pitched 1 inning, did give up a home run to Kelly Gruber and got the save. But just think if Wes Gardner here can, if they can salvage and win this game, they have Boddicker and Clemens coming up behind in Toronto, against Toronto. As we see this nasty slider here. You throw those pitches there, and again, that pitch is not a strike. If you get ahead with strikes or fastballs, you can flip stuff in the dirt, and you can get most hitters.
Yeah, especially if you can flip it in the high 80s on a breaking ball. Strikeout number 6. Tony Fernandez is up. Wes Gardner has that nasty look on the mound tonight. He looks unhittable right now.
The only rap on Wes is that, as I'd said before, stay close. They're going to get some hits. There are some things that will probably happen before this game's over, because this is a quality first place contending team in the Toronto Blue Jays. Let's just see what his makeup is after they go around and they see him one time.
He's sure getting some borderline strike calls from Al Clark. He's been near that inside corner on those left-handed hitters quite a lot here tonight.
Well, it's a little easier now for Al Clark to call balls and strikes, because Wes is around the plate. With David Wells, who's up and down and in and out, it's tough for Al Clark to establish any kind of a pattern.
One ball, 2 strikes. In the dirt. Pena handles it. He'll throw him out again. Second time Fernandez has been thrown out at first base on a strikeout, and that's 7 for Wes Gardner.
This is his pattern now. He gets 2 strikes on the left-handers, and what is he doing? He's throwing that good sinker or good slider in the dirt. And out of 6 of the 7 strikeouts that he has, have been on that pitch, down and in on the dirt. Because why? He's pitching ahead.
And a rather risky play by Tony Pena, going backhand, not getting in front of that pitch, knocking it down and throwing the runner out. Bases empty, 2 outs for Kelly Gruber.
Now, as a hitter in this situation, Wes Gardner is in a groove. As a hitter, you must try to step out and break his concentration. Walk back and get some pine tar. Wes Gardner right now, because he is in a groove, he can't wait to get that ball again and throw it. So step out on him, try to break his concentration and break his rhythm.
Fastball missing, up and away. Kelly Gruber hit 7 home runs in the month of April this year, a personal record. As we said earlier, he's kept it going. He's in the top elite in the league in home runs with his 19, second in RBIs with 62. The home run total has him tied with Mark McGwire behind Cecil Fielder and Jose Canseco, the $5 million man, reportedly.
You can't hit that pitch right there. You're a low ball hitter. Breaking pitch.
Reaching, hits one of the shortstop. Charging is Rivera. Another 1-2-3 inning. Through 3.5. Gardner is perfect, and the Red Sox lead by 3. Nothing offensively for the Blue Jays so far. It's been all Red Sox. 3-0 as we move to the bottom of the fourth at Fenway Park, Boston. Ellis Burks, Tony Pena, and Carlos Quintana to hit for the Sox, who started tonight a half game up on the Blue Jays in the American League East. We'll see if that double play ball of an inning ago gives David Wells some momentum. He struggled with control, walking the leadoff man last inning, but got Bernansky to fly deep and then got the 6-4-3 engineered by Tony Fernandez and Manny Lee off the bat of Dwight Evans. A drive that will go foul into the left field corner.
Well, Ellis has a super quick bat. That time he was just out in front a little bit too much and caught it not at a good angle as far as hitting the ball fair. But this man is tough to get inside. But again, a left-hander can get him inside if he has some giddy up on it, so to speak.
Out of play right side, a ball and 2 strikes. Last year, the Red Sox finished 3rd in the AL East, only 6 games back of Toronto. And when you consider that Ellis Burks missed 65 ball games with a shoulder injury, you have to think they would have made it that 6 and probably more with him in the lineup. So his injury might have been what kept the Sox out of the playoffs last season. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Yeah, it's tough to lose an offensive threat as Ellis Burks can create not only that but a defense in center field. And you're right that it could have made a difference of them winning and losing last year, but that's baseball.
Burks pops one up weakly to the right side. Manny Lee wants it. 1 out. Burks has popped up twice, once to the shortstop and once to the second baseman. Mets and the Cardinals at 8:30 Eastern time tomorrow night. Now, some of you in the Eastern time zone or in some of those markets will see Cleveland and Baltimore. That 7:30 Eastern time for that game is Eastern time, as we said. So at either 7:30 Indians Orioles or at 8:30 Mets and the Cardinals tomorrow evening on ESPN. Tony Pena singled and scored his last time. Pena thus got his average up to 277. To the shortstop hole. Fernandez has it. Flips it over, but off the bag. Pena has always run very well by that catcher standard. And Tony Fernandez knew he couldn't plant the foot and throw him out, so he tried to flip it in time.
I disagree on that. I think that he had a chance to possibly plant. Well, no, he was a little off balance there. But I thought at first he had a chance to go ahead and plant and make a stronger throw.
Bill, I think most shortstops are diving to catch that ball. Tony Fernandez gets it on his feet.
And Ozzie Smith in his prime would have been in front of it.
1 on, 1 out. Base hit all the way for Pena with Quintana to follow. Chopper, third. Gruber, backhand. Another pivot by Lee and another double play ball for David Wells. Second of the night, 78th of the year by the Jays, and after 4, it's still Boston 3, Toronto nothing. Well, the double play ball has been good for the Toronto defense the last 2 innings.
Yeah, good pick and get by Gruber. Good backhand and a good turn by Manny Lee right there. And that's why both of these teams are 1-2 in their standings, because not only do they have good offensive production, they also have great defense too.
Meanwhile, on the mound, it's easier to play great defense when the guy's throwing the way Wes Gardner is. He's been ahead in the count all night long. Through 4 innings, he has 7 strikeouts. A total of 3 balls have been hit into the outfield, 1 to each outfielder. There has been 1 infield pop-up, and everything else strikeouts. There's Mike Milbury, coach of the Boston Bruins, who had a great run in the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, watching the ball game with his wife tonight. One thing about the teams here in Boston, you really hear about the players supporting the other clubs. I know Larry Bird is a big fan of the Sox and the Bruins, and they cross over a lot between the Celtics, Bruins, and Sox as far as supporting each other, and that's great. 5th inning. George Bell leads off.
I started to say because there's not a whole heck of a lot of things to do in Boston.
Are you kidding?
Not true.
There's too much to do here.
Yeah, that's good when other athletes can appreciate and go out to the ballpark and see other athletes perform.
Fastball to Bell after the breaking ball, and it's fouled upstairs right side. And yeah, you look up at the scoreboard and it's no balls, 2 strikes again. Bell, McGriff, and Olerud. Important inning for Wes Gardner here in the middle of the ball game.
And you can bet George, the way he's swinging, pulling off the ball, trying to hit home runs, that Wes Gardner will probably give him a good diet of sliders away right here. There's one.
He was reaching. Ellis Burks. 1 out. That's 13 consecutive retired by Gardner. I think we could see it in the 4th inning when he struck out Felix and Fernandez. Bill, there was something about the reaction of the crowd here at Fenway, because they've seen Roger Clemens operate obviously a number of times, but there was something about the way they reacted to the way Gardner was throwing the ball that indicates this might be a special evening for him.
If he continues to make quality pitches like he just did right there, and as he did right there against George Bell, a good quality slider, he got ahead. He's ahead right now on Fred McGriff. He throws him a fastball up out of the strike zone. Fred, being anxious, wanting to end this thing or really drive the ball, was a little too anxious and swings at a pitch over his head.
Fastball up and away. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bill mentioned Mike Boddicker tomorrow night. He will throw against Jimmy Key, just off the disabled list for Toronto. Thursday night, a dandy matchup. Roger Clemens and Todd Stottlemyre. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
The biggest thing for Wes Gardner here is, now that he's in a groove, not to start thinking. If you start thinking, they used to always say in baseball, if you think, you lose ball games. Let the manager do the thinking. You're in a groove now. Just work along with Tony Pena. Fastball away.
And it wasn't as close as the Fenway crowd thought it was. 3 balls, 2 strikes.
Now he could probably come in with the slider in the dirt now and get Fred McGriff. Of course, Fred is pretty good, pretty patient at the plate. Let's see what happens here. No, fastball away again.
It was up, and McGriff held up. That's the first Toronto base runner. 1 on, 1 out. Nothing going offensively for the Jays, but John Saunders has highlights for us.
The Brewers and the Yankees. We told you Dave Parker needed 1 more hit after his home run to reach 2,500. Can this one drop in? Mel Hall chases it down with a basket catch. You'll have to wait till next time, which could be sometime. You showed Mike Milbury, the coach of the Bruins. Well, he can be identifying with this scene. The blackout at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, just the way it happens all the time at Boston Garden. Back to Bob and Bill.
Yeah, but John, they renovated Yankee Stadium. Boston Garden's the same as it was 50 years ago. Well, it's been a dark year for the Yankees so far. John Olerud, though, has been shining brightly in his rookie season for Toronto. He was fanned his first time by Gardner. That was a called 3rd strike to end the 2nd inning, but he bats here with 1 on, 1 out as the Jays have their first man to make it out of the batter's box safely.
Good low ball hitter, and the thing that Cito Gadsden likes about John Olerud is that he doesn't even know he's at the ballpark. He just puts his name in the lineup, and every day the young man goes out and does his job.
A drive to left, but Greenwell is over to get it. They had him played toward the gap, and Greenwell made an easy catch for the 2nd out.
They talked about John Olerud's sweet swing. Watch how he just stays on the ball. His hands go back. The ball is away just a little bit, but he stays on that ball. That's a fine piece of hitting. The only thing at times, as you see, lets go of the bat with 1 hand. On pitches that are away, to get a little better extension, you can do that. You can let go of the bat with one hand. But I believe I'm stronger with two hands than I am with one. I like to constantly hold on that bat with two hands.
Greg Myers dunks one to left field, and that's the first hit of the game for Toronto. And a nice ovation from Fenway as Gardner goes 4 innings and 2/3 of another hitless before Greg Myers dunks one into left field.
Well, in the game of baseball, things happen, but you really could not expect Wes Gardner, who has always had a losing record, to come out and pitch a no-hitter. You want him just to go ahead and hopefully get 7 innings in and then get it to your bullpen.
And not to be lost in the aftermath of that is the fact that the tying run stands at the plate in Manny Lee. Not a guy who's liable to hit one out of the ballpark batting left-handed, but there are some big gaps in this ballpark, and a line drive could make it 3-2 rather easily.
Of course, with swings like that and a nasty slider that Wes is throwing, you can forget about Manny even getting a base hit. If Wes gets the ball up a little bit, he has a chance, but Manny is not very patient today. He's just hacking up there.
Line drive, but right at Luis Rivera. A walk and a single, 2 men stranded halfway through the game at Fenway. Red Sox 3, Jays nothing.
You're all right.
Well, it was not to be a Nolan Ryan night for Wes Gardner, Bill Robinson, but he's thrown the ball so very well for the Red Sox, and this is a ball club that's putting it together, pitching and hitting here at home.
And when things like that happen, as Wes is throwing, tomorrow, as we talked about Boddicker and Clemens, anything can happen with this ball club, and he's doing a fantastic job.
By the way, happy birthday, partner.
Hey, thank you very much. I appreciate it. 47 years of age today.
Great place to celebrate. A guy who had a pretty good career in the big leagues, Bill Robinson. Well preserved, I might add.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's go to the bottom of the 5th inning. David Wells on the mound for the Blue Jays. And
Thanks, Steph.
Luis Rivera will lead things off for the Red Sox. That's amazing what a World Series ring can do for a guy's appearance. Couple of them, in fact.
Yes.
Tony Fernandez will handle this one. Rivera is gone as the bottom of the 5th inning is underway.
And David Wells has settled down too. David Wells is in the last 2 innings has ended with a double play. He's settled down. He's into some kind of a pattern, some kind of a groove. Now it's up to the offense to start pecking away at Wes Gardner and get your ball club back into this ball game.
Earlier tonight, Wade Boggs drew his 51st walk of the year. A couple of Baltimore Orioles are ahead of him. Mickey Tettleman with 53 entering tonight's action, and Randy Milligan with 59. Contributing to that on-base average Boggs enjoys of well over 400. He has had seasons when he's been way into the year with an on-base average of up close to 500 at times.
That's a tremendous eye right there as David Wells sort of stalks around at disgust. The curveball was a little up, but I mean, pitches that are that close, Wade Boggs has that knack of just seeing the ball just before it's released.
High drive to left center. George Bell wants it on the track. 2 outs, and let's get it back to our Baseball Tonight studio and John Sunder.
Well, Bob, we know it's Bill Robinson's birthday, and he's seen plenty in his years on this earth, but here's something he never saw when he was coaching the Mets. Vince Coleman, 57 for 57, stealing against Mets catcher, but he is caught out this time at home. First time in 58 tries. Kevin Elster applies the tag on the throw from Matthew Sasser. For the first time in 58 times, he's out of there. Back to Bob and Bill.
Well, you're right about that, John, and that's Mackey Sasser. Mackey has been working regularly with Greg Pavlik, their fine bullpen coach, and he's been throwing out about 50% of the runners lately.
Well, you don't see much running in this ballpark, at least not this year. Jody Reed, the hitter, 2 outs, bases empty as the Red Sox lead at 3-0, bottom of the 5th inning. But Vince Coleman is back as a bona fide base stealer in the National League. His offense has been so bad the last couple of seasons, he hasn't been on base enough. Whitey says he now has that arrogant air about him again. He's getting on base and daring pitchers.
And there was talk about trading Vince Coleman last year because, of course, they had Bernansky and they had Milt Thompson was playing well, and also Willie McGee had a fine year. And there was talk about trading Vince Coleman. He was very, very tentative on the bases. Of course, you can't steal first base. Now he's back and playing with reckless abandon. And, you know, it's probably because it's the last year of his contract. It's amazing what guys do in the final year of their contracts.
And it's funny, he's actually been the Cardinals' best outfielder because Thompson is slumped. Bernansky was traded, and you'll see some of those guys tomorrow night on ESPN when the Mets and the Cardinals play again in St. Louis. Great rivalry between those two cities based on each team's contending status in the AL, or rather National League East, over the last 5-6 years.
They're always there. Both teams are always there. It might not happen this year. Whitey's team has really struggled, and I had said too that they were possibly the most respected team in baseball because of Whitey Herzog.
Here's the 1-2 delivery. A shot to left center. In to get it and over is Mookie Wilson. And the first 1-2-3 inning of the night for David Wells. After 5, Boston leads 3-0. 5 innings are complete at Boston Fenway Park. Red Sox over the Blue Jays 3-1, having out-hit Toronto by a 5-1 count. And Mookie Wilson will be the leadoff man for Toronto in the top of the 6th inning.
Well, here comes three of the 4 switch hitters coming up, and Wes Gardner right now has really handled every one of the Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays desperately need some base runners.
And a shot to the hole handled by Luis Rivera. 1 out. 2 consecutive hitters have lined hard to the shortstop, Manny Lee and Mookie Wilson.
And it's a little bit of an omen, I think, because Wes might not be throwing quite as hard now. He really exerted himself, I think, in the first 5 innings, throwing good quality pitches. And let's just see if there's any kind of a pattern developing here that Wes now maybe is starting to think, or he's getting a little tired.
Hasn't fanned a hitter since the 4th. The last 5 hitters have seen 2 of them get aboard, 1 via walk, 1 via a dunk single. But the other 3 retired have all hit line drives. And there's one off the pitcher's leg. He scrambles and can't get Junior Felix at first base.
Yeah, fine play here by Wes to even knock the ball down. Of course, he knocks the ball down not with his glove, but with his body. It hits him off his butt right here. And watch how he just scrambles. He scrambles real hard to try to get this ball, and a good flip and a good jump, but there's no substitute for speed. You pick the ball up barehanded and just try to flip it over. You try to get it with your glove and scoop it. The ball can stick in your glove and you can flip it into the dugout.
Now I'm going to credit the media guide for this one, okay, but in his spare time he loves hunting, fishing, and training bird dogs, and he looked exactly like a bird dog after that one. 1 ball, 1 strike. Or rather 1 on, 1 out, with Tony Fernandez stepping in here in the top of the 6th inning. But I think you're right, Bill. Gardner is losing it a little bit. And Tony Fernandez had a good swipe at a high pitch.
Yeah, that ball was just a little bit out of Tony's zone right there. He's not a good high ball hitter. He gets down on top of some pitches, but that pitch he just got under a little bit.
Junior Felix has 9 steals on the year. He's been caught 4 times. Cito in a ballpark where power is the forte. Maybe not real eager to run 3 runs down here. Are the lights back on at Yankee Stadium? Yankees lead it. They're tied in Baltimore. Kevin Brown going for number 10 in Minnesota, where the Twins roughed up the Rangers last night. Brown 9-4. He might be the best pitcher on the Texas staff right now. Montreal this afternoon beat the Cubs, and the Expos are only, well, they're actually in a first place tie with the Pirates right now, who are scoreless in a nail biter at home. Runner going, swing and a miss. No chance for a throw because it was a low inside breaking ball. And Junior Felix swipes number 10.
That's a good play right there, too. Not Cito Gaston saying, we're going to go ahead and run. We're going to try to manufacture some things right here. And we're not just going to sit back. We know we're leading the league in home runs, but we have to manufacture some runs here. Watching Tony Fernandez hit, it's really amazing after 2 strikeouts how he's trying to make an adjustment. Right now, Tony Fernandez has his bat as flat as it can get. The first at bat, he had his bat a little more perpendicular to the ground.
Fastball rides high, 2-2. Mets have a 2-0 lead at St. Louis. Coleman's been thrown out tonight. Padres at the Dome leading Art Howe's Houston Astros 1-0. By the way, a note on that Philadelphia-Pittsburgh game, that's Ruffin and Patterson locked up in that scoreless 7th-inning duel with first place at stake for the Pirates in the National League East. Montreal already having beaten the Cubs today. Wes Gardner to the bullpen, and Joe Morgan knows that Gardner has not pitched into the 7th inning since almost a year ago. It was August 17th when he threw his only complete game of his career last season. So he's not liable to go too long, and the left-hander Rob Murphy is on his way down there. 2-2 pitch. Little breaking ball that Fernandez stroked off to the left side.
And especially, too, that Joe Morgan knows that I have Boddicker and Clemens back to back. There's no way that I'm going to try to let this game slip away.
He may not need the bullpen the next 2 nights. They are a collective 20-6, Clemens and Boddicker. 11-3 for Roger, 9-3 for Mike. High heat, and Fernandez is gone. Strikeout number 8 for Gardner, who's within 1 of his career high. 3rd time Tony Fernandez has fanned swinging tonight.
And this is called the hat trick. One more Tony Fernandez, 1 more strikeout. It's called the golden sombrero. Those pitches are just totally out of the strike zone. It doesn't look like Tony's even seeing the ball.
Kelly Gruber with an RBI opportunity with 2 down. Blue Jays need that run here in the 6th inning. On a breaking ball that gets way outside, Gruber behind in the count. He has fanned swinging and grounded to shortstop.
You know, a lot of times it's a manager's psychological ploy, too. When you send a guy out of the bullpen, especially here in Boston, where Rob Murphy literally had to run right in front of Wes Gardner. Maybe he's saying, hey, planting a little bit of a seed in Wes Gardner, letting him bear down a little bit, and he gets out of the inning.
Mike Greenwell catches the fly ball of Gruber. Blue Jays strand their 3rd runner after 5.5. Boston on top by 3. Red Sox back to work offensively in the bottom of the 6th inning with Bill Robinson, Bob Carpenter on a Tuesday evening of ESPN's Baseball Tonight from Fenway Park in Boston. Red Sox on top by 3. Mike Greenwell, Tom Bernansky, and Dwight Evans in the 6th inning, as the Sox try to increase their lead into a 1.5 games over Toronto in the American League East.
Yeah, David Wells has a nice smooth rhythm now. He's not overpowering. He's just trying to throw the ball, just trying to stay ahead of the hitters right now. Right there.
Mike Greenwell working on a modest 3-game hitting streak, but he is 7 for his last 15. Had a 4-hit game in there. 8th of his career that took place last night. So he's showing some signs of busting out of it. And maybe the best statistic for the Red Sox in the month of June, the fact that Greenwell's got the average up to near 270, but the fact that he hit .357 so far in June with runners in scoring position, knocking home 12 runs. That, more than anything, is his job.
And from the left side, Mike Greenwell almost has the same kind of stance as Wade Boggs. Watch how he tiptoes with that, sort of like tiptoeing through the tulips with that front toe.
Greenwell, 208 official at-bats, covering 52+ games without a home run. 14 last year with 95 runs batted in. He'll tiptoe his way into a 2-2 pitch here. And he rifles it down the right side. Greenwell with a big turn, but Junior Felix rifles it right back in. And Greenwell has a 4-game hitting streak.
And that's sort of shades of Mike Greenwell right there, to be able to go down on a pitch and drive the ball into the gap. Well, not into the gap, but drive the ball. Look where his head is right there. That's something he just hasn't been doing, stroking the ball. Normally that ball there, he tries to muscle the ball and he pops it up.
Leadoff man aboard for Tom Bernansky. Bernansky with his 24th Boston RBI earlier tonight on the double off the Green Monster in the first inning. Flied to right center in the third. Got a breaking ball and chopped it to Kelly Gruber. No play at second. On to first as McGriff skips across the bag, changing from the left foot to the right foot. And with one out, Mike Greenwell moves to second base.
That's a good play from a big man, and Fred McGriff. He's only made 3 errors all year. And when you have to be nimble around first base. You have to always think that the pitch, the throw might not be a perfect throw. That was a good curveball. That was a good curveball in on Bernansky and tied the big man up.
Dwight Evans hit into a 6-4-3 his last time, grounded to the second baseman before that.
Now watch the similar stances as far as the front toe and really the angle of the bat between Dwight Evans and Mike Greenwell. This is one of Walt Rainiac's pet things that he does, as does Carlton Fisk.
Well, I have to say one thing about Dwight Evans. You've got to like the company he's keeping. A couple of weeks ago, he passed up Gil Hodges on the all-time home run list. Right now, he's tied with Rocky Colavito for number 31. And 3 home runs ahead is Tiger great Norm Cash.
Norm Cash.
A little late on that one. No balls, 2 strikes.
A little late, too, because he's pulling off the ball. He's trying to put the team up 5-0. This is where you want to go right back to the basics here. See that front foot and everything? He's pulling off the ball. Anytime you turn and you spin like that, that means that you're pulling off the ball.
Pretty good fastball on 0-2 by Wells, missing outside.
And a good pitch, too. A good pitch. That pitch right there could possibly make Dwight Evans vulnerable to a good hard fastball in, something up. There's a lot of things that he can do on this pitch.
Now, that was rather unusual. Wells asked home plate umpire Al Clark to brush off the plate. The part of the plate that was covered by dirt was the very back of the plate. You don't want to put one right over the heart. I thought he was brushing off the inside corner.
Well, maybe telling Al, too, brush off that outside corner, because that pitch looked pretty good from my vantage point.
This a breaking ball that hits near the back of the plate. So he knew where he wanted it. 2 balls, 2 strikes. You know, it's interesting that David Wells is having some success as a starter. Last year for the Blue Jays, he only averaged an inning and 2/3 every time he threw, mainly out of the bullpen. Wells appeared in 54 ball games with no starts in going 7-4 with a very good 2.40 earned run average. And that is his first strikeout of the night. So he's getting better as the evening goes on.
He's working in a groove, and you talked about he's never pitched a whole lot, but you can see in stature how big and strong he is. And I think, too, it's just a matter of just pacing yourself a little bit. And in the first couple of innings, when he really got in trouble, he just tried to blow everyone away, and consequently, he was keeping pitches up. Now he's starting to pitch. You saw the 2 pitches before Dwight Evans. He threw him a good fastball away. Then he came back with a curveball. Then he came back with another curveball that got Dwight.
Ellis Burks is next. Looked like an off-speed breaking ball. He's popped up Burks a couple of times tonight. Runner at second is Greenwell, who led off the inning with a single, moved to second on a Bernansky grounder. Stayed as Evans fanned. And the Red Sox in this ballpark, with signs of their starter Gardner weakening, would love to pick up that 4th run. 3 runs with the wind blowing out at Fenway. Not a whole lot of comfort in that zone when you're heading into the final 3 innings.
That is correct. And 315 down the left field line, where you can pepper that wall all day. Just run for days.
Well hit, but right to the shortstop. Fernandez bobbles, but keeps control. And Burks is gone. Red Sox strand only their 3rd runner of the night, and after 6 at Fenway, Boston 3, Toronto nothing. Fenway Park in Boston. 7th inning coming up. Red Sox over the Blue Jays 3-0. ESPN's doubleheader this evening, and coming up on Friday, another one for you. What a dandy at Shea. Reds and the Mets to do battle. Some of you will see a dandy as well with the A's in Toronto rematching last year's American League Championship Series. That's the 7:30 part of our doubleheader, Eastern time. And then later, the Cardinals on the road against the Dodgers. Some of you will see the Brewers and Seattle at 10:30 Eastern time Friday on ESPN. Seventh inning. George Bell leading off for the 3rd time tonight. That's how well that Wes Gardner has handled the hitters in front of George.
And since his great start, or since his great week, George Bell is 0 for 7 and has not. George Bell has always been able to make adjustments. He has not made an adjustment in the last 2 days, maybe because of Fenway, maybe because of Dana Kicker, and also it has to be because of Wes Gardner out on the mound today. But George, again, he knows how to play the game of baseball. He knows how to hit. He knows he needs to get on base and do something, and maybe get on for McGriff and Olerud.
Blue Jays have not put a leadoff man aboard this evening. Fastball missing, 2-0. In his dream week, George Bell hit .500, 5 homers, 11 runs batted in, scored 9 runs. There's Rob Murphy still working. It had a slugging percentage of better than 1 point, 1.107. That's about as good as it gets. Down the right field line where there's not much foul territory, but it still falls from the outstretched glove of Quintana. The wall angles severely toward the line here, and then actually parallels the line into the right field corner.
Yeah, this is a tough play here. You got to look at the wall. You have to look and see where Jody Reed is. You have to watch for the fans coming out. You have to watch for Tom Bernansky coming in. You got to be careful not to all you guys collide and someone gets hurt very seriously on that ball.
Wes Gardner is up around 90 pitches. He had gone in the mid-80s through 6 innings of work. He's showing good control tonight, throwing roughly twice as many strikes as balls, 57 and 27 coming into this inning. 2-1 the count here to Bell. And one of the few long counts he's gone to this evening.
It'll be very interesting with McGriff up, Olerud, and then Myers. How long will the manager, Joe Morgan, stay with Wes Gardner? I mean, he's not in trouble, but you certainly want him to leave on a positive note.
Fastball up high. They appealed to first. Ted Hendry said he did not go around, and that's the second walk of the game issued by Wes Gardner.
And this is how long you stay with Wes Gardner. there.
Jeff Reardon walked down to the bullpen before the 7th inning got underway. He's not a factor yet, 8th inning or so. But Rob Murphy has been throwing for a while. He's a left-hander that can sort of turn around that Toronto lineup, especially with Fred McGriff and John Olerud, the next 2 hitters up. And the change has been made. Gardner will get a great ovation when he leaves. He takes his team into the 7th inning, leading 3-0. Outstanding evening for Wes Gardner, a 2-hitter with 2 walks and 8 strikeouts into the 7th inning. Now he hands it over to Rob Murphy, left-hander out of the bullpen, who is one of the busiest relievers in the American League, has been over the last couple of seasons. Was number 3 in the American League last year with 74 appearances, right behind Chuck Krim and Mitch Williams among major league pitchers.
And with Rob Murphy, you don't have to run up and get it. He'll bring it up to you. He came in yesterday, and in 2/3 of an inning, in the same situation, struck out McGriff and Olerud.
Well hit to left field, but it'll hang up for Greenwell. He lost it in the lights and still made the catch. You simply can't hit the ball any harder than Fred McGriff did, and Mike Greenwell had that ball get up in the lights on him.
You just have to stay with this baseball as an outfielder, as Fred McGriff just mashes on this ball. You stay with the ball, and hopefully it'll come out of the lights. If you start shying away from it a little too quick, you could get hit in your coconut. A good break for, as he said, it's in the lights, but that was a good break for the Red Sox, but a nasty break for the Toronto Blue Jays. That ball could very well get by. It's a double. You got men on second and third with only 1 out, and one of the hottest young hitters in baseball coming up, and he does not really care who's out there pitching.
Olerud rips one upstairs, left side, and Murphy ahead of him in the count, 0-2.
Now he's thrown him 2 good fastballs. Let's see if he throws that nasty curveball.
He did, and it was too nasty for Pena to catch, as Bell on the wild pitch will go to second base.
Yeah, this is probably the toughest kind of a ball to catch, a slider that hits the dirt, because it doesn't always spin the same way. It normally spins and has reverse English on it when it hits the hard dirt. So Tony did all he could not to let the ball go all the way back to the screen.
Way outside, evening the count at 2-2. Couple of right-handers, Jerry Reed and Jeff Gray. Reed was on your left.
And what you can expect Joe Morgan to do with Reed and Gray up, and if they have to counter and things, sort of piecemeal, so to speak, to do anything that he can to stop this rally. And there's Joe. You have to give Joe a lot of credit. They talk about when a manager goes bad, or when a team goes bad, the manager is at fault. Hey, when a team goes well, then the manager has to get the credit.
Yeah, we got a couple of hackers in the ballpark tonight too. Richie Hebner was next to him in the dugout, coupled with the guy sitting next to me. A lot of base hits hanging around Fenway tonight in the non-playing ranks. That went over but low, 3-2. Although I must say that your hitting style was a little more orthodox than Richie Hebner.
Yeah, Richie had that theory, thou shalt not pass. Anything close, he was hacking, and that's how he got the name Hacker. A good low ball hitter. He was a good hockey player. That's why he was a good low ball hitter.
3 balls, 2 strikes, and a grounder will be the second out of the inning. Jody Reed on to Quintana. Over to third goes George Bell. John Olerud, 0 for 3. And to the plate, Joe Morgan will stay with his left-hander against the righty, Pat Borders, who will hit for Greg Myers. Now we're getting to see both sides of the Toronto catching platoon here this evening. Borders having a fine year, hitting in the 290s. He hits for power, drives home some runs, and it was Pat Borders that stepped forward and did a fine job while Myers was hurt. He was on the DL for a while with a bad shoulder. There's Hebner to your right, next to Joe Morgan.
That was a very, very interesting job during the winter months.
Diggs Graves, huh?
Diggs Graves, he and his father.
He told me once it's a great job because nobody talks back to him.
He said business is great too. Very, very free-spirited man, and I think it's really reflected on his team. His team is free-spirited, and they're also leading the league in hitting.
Talk about going from a contrast in hitting coaches, Walt Riniak to Richie Hebner.
Yes, a student.
Talk about radical.
Good fastball right here. Borders did go around.
And he's behind the count, 0-2. Blue Jays need to push a run across somehow here in the 7th inning. Fastball tailing away.
And this is why I said that the Toronto Blue Jays probably have one of the best lineups in baseball. After Borders, now you have to deal with 4 switch hitters in a row. As an opposing manager, it doesn't make any difference who you bring in. I mean, you cannot at this time, now you can, but you can't get a matchup. You can't get the right situation that you want because we have 4 switch hitters in a row. And in managing, all you want to do is get that good matchup. Throw your guy against their guy in a matchup, and then let the chips fall where they may.
Strikeout for Murphy. 7th inning stretch time at Fenway. 3-0 Red Sox.
ESPN Baseball Tonight, brought to you by Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. See them all at your Mitsubishi Motors dealer. By extra hard Red Devil oil enamel for the finish of a lifetime. By the Jewelers of America. Is 2 months' salary too much to spend for something that lasts forever? And by Budweiser, the king of beers. Remember, know when to say when.
ESPN's Baseball Tonight from Fenway Park in Boston. And to the bottom of the 7th, this one goes with the Red Sox over the Blue Jays, 3-0. David Wells, after his early struggles, still around. Basically 2 pitches he'd like to have back tonight. One to Tom Bernansky that was high in the strike zone, ended up off the green monster for an RBI double in the 1st. And a really high pitch to Carlos Quintana that left here way over the green monster in the 2nd for a 2-run homer. Tony Pena, followed by Quintana and Luis Rivera in the Boston 7th. And last inning, we saw Wells get better as the night moves on. Had his first strikeout. Pat Borders stays in to catch for the Blue Jays after pinch hitting for Greg Myers. Chin music not received in a friendly manner by the Fenway fans.
That pitch wasn't in all that much. Watch out, Tony, a little animation here. That's like when you get one of those charging fouls and you really hit the floor and slide like like Bill Lambier or someone like that. Come on, Tony.
3-0.
It's a good actor right there.
Walk number 3 by David Wells. And here's where the Red Sox can do a few things. Not a running ball club at all. They steal a base about once a week. There's Tony in his 3-0 crouch, but he didn't need it anyway. And Carlos Quintana will be the hitter with a chance to move that runner around a bit if Joe Morgan chooses to play that way with a 3-run 8th inning lead.
And remembering too, Carlos has just been killing left-handers, and he has 3 home runs this year. One was a 2-run homer that he hit earlier in this game, and the other one was a 3-run homer.
And obviously he doesn't bunt a whole lot.
Yes, that was a terrible mechanics on that bunt. If you bunt, Carlos, you've done a couple of things. Number one, you've helped your ball club, and number two, watch how he jabs at this ball here. You never jab at the ball. You pretend like there is a glove on the end of your bat, and you just feel and just stroke the ball. He hits a lot of balls to right field. If he throws a ball right here, he might hit and run. Very interesting too, with Joe Morgan up by 3 runs, and you have a guy in Quintana that's just hit a home run, as we looked at Jim Acker, that just hit a home run, to have him bunt. He's trying to get that other run is what he's trying to do. So he's proven, Carlos has proven that I'm not a good bunter. I hit a lot of balls to right field. 1-1's the count. This is a good situation. 1-1 after he's just thrown a ball. You know he wants to come back with a strike, or 2-1 are good hit and run situations. And you know, a lot of times you can tell when a guy is stealing a base, because what he does, if you're a coach or if you're a pitcher, and if a guy is going to steal a base, just watch him. The base runner will always look at second base.
Outside corner, says Al Clark. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Quintana wearing out lefties. Overall average coming in of 294. His 1 for 2 with a homer tonight will get him up flirting with 300 fairly quickly, and he has answered the first base problem here at Fenway that started with a Quintana Bill Buckner platoon at the start of the season. A shot to right field. Rushing on is Felix. Little basket catch as Junior came scurrying in, and he may have lost that ball in the light tower on the third base side.
It certainly looked like it just by the way he came in after the ball. Got a good jump on the ball too.
Uh-oh, Stephen King's in the ballpark tonight.
Pet Cemetery. What a great movie.
If he looks out at the scoreboard and it says go the distance, I'm getting out of here. Here's Luis Rivera. King, though, is a regular here at Fenway.
And this is also another pretty good hit and run man. Luis has taken, or he was given, the last 2 days off because he is really slumping badly, and there was some speculation too that because he's not a big man, and because he's not real big and strong, he has a tendency maybe to break down just a little bit. But when you're not hitting the ball, an ideal thing that most managers will want to do, and not that I keep harping on a hit and run situation, just trying to plant a seed, but a lot of managers, what they'll do is to make you wait on the ball. They'll go ahead and hit and run with you, and chances of getting a base hit and getting out of a slump.
Out of play right side, and Murphy is ahead of Rivera. No balls, 2 strikes. Or rather, Wells. It is a battle of left-handers with David Wells of Toronto, Rob Murphy of Boston, the pitchers now. Oh, a good fastball. Strikeout number 2, second out of the inning.
And give him credit. He's doing a good job. Here he catches Carlos looking for the local, and he gets the express right there. And as a hitter, that's one reason why he's not hitting the ball well. He's guessing, and he's guessing wrong. If you're not hitting the ball well, guess fastball, and you can adjust to the rest of the pitches, but never guess anything else and try to hit a fastball.
Wade Boggs on base a couple of times tonight. He has his 19th double of the year, his 52nd walk, 1 for 2 officially. Average climbing toward 300.
You can bet when the leaves turn brown, he'll be there.
Deuces are wild in the American League tonight, but it's 3-0 here. Blue Jays do have 2 hits, though. All the other action is late on the coast with Detroit at Oakland. Our doubleheader game, Kansas City at Seattle at 10:30 Eastern time tonight. Brian Holman and Tom Gordon throwing there, and the White Sox at California. The amazing White Sox. Here's the 2-1. Boggs works the count to ball 3. A runner at first with 2 down in the bottom of the 7th. And with the 3-2 count, Tony Pena will have a chance to be running.
As we look at Cito Gaston, very interesting too that 3-2, 2 outs, and Fred McGriff is holding Tony Pena. Looks like he's holding him on first base. I would think, Fred, that you would be back behind or close to Tony to knock that ball down in the hole.
I guess they figure there's no way Boggs is going to pull the ball against the left-hander. He did hit the ball to left center for his double tonight. His other out has been to left field.
Well, naturally, we know he's not a pull hitter, but it still cuts down on some angles and still cuts down on that big hole between first and second base. Plus, Tony Pena, what are you trying to do? Keep him from scoring on a base hit? Tony's built for comfort, not for speed. He's not real fast. And there's something else and I've noticed in the American League. In the National League, a first baseman, both feet have to be in fair territory. In the American League, a first baseman can straddle the line at first base.
3-2 pitch. Pena running. Foul. Back to the left and out of play.
And you can call a technicality on that too, because with the exception of the catcher, everyone has to be in fair territory. Technically, he's not.
This one will reach the seats as well down the left field line. Kelly Gruber had a good look at it. This part of this unusual configuration at Fenway, they don't move or at least in the old days, they didn't move the streets around to go around the ballpark. Back in those days, they made the ballpark fit the neighborhood, and that's why you get the unusual configurations like this one. Like old Ebbets Field was, many of the old ballparks.
Yeah, this place is different, all right. Played here for 3 years and only hit 1 ball off of that left field wall.
That's because you were trying to do it every time up, weren't you?
Amen. Whoa.
3-2 pitch about to take place again. To the shortstop. Fernandez to Lee, and the inning is over. Red Sox leave their 4th runner of the night, and this one moves to the 8th inning at Fenway. Boston 3, Toronto nothing. Nothing. Red Sox over the Blue Jays as we go to the 8th inning at Fenway Park in Boston. ESPN goes indoors on Sunday night with our Sunday night baseball series. Orioles at Minnesota. Baltimore wasn't treated rather rudely the last time they went to Minnesota around Memorial Day when the Twins are going so well, but here they are a month later and they want to go right back in there. So you can check it out at 8 p.m. Eastern time with John Miller and Joe Morgan on Sunday night. Boy, that Minnesota club was playing well, Bill, when you and I were there for the holiday.
We were pitching well, and Kevin Tapani and Rick Aguilera, who's still doing a real good job as their stopper, but their hitting was just so fantastic. And it just goes to show you in a game of baseball, you got to always stay humble. You got to keep things on an even keel. Don't get too high or too low in this game, because this game will humble the heck out of you.
Manny Lee is the Toronto leadoff man in the 8th inning, and after having Al Clark check the baseball, he's ready to go. Manny has fanned swinging and lined to the shortstop. Here we are in the 8th inning, and some of these Toronto hitters have only been up there twice. Lee and Wilson who bat, followed by Junior Felix in this inning.
It's amazing. I just looked at my scorecard, as raggedy as it is. I just looked at my scorecard, and you said that it was 0 for 2, and looked at it and said, that can't be. It's the 8th inning.
That's how well Wes Gardner has pitched tonight into the 7th inning, and now Rob Murphy in relief with a scoreless inning of his own. Up to the roof on the right side, 1 ball, 2 strikes. And a reminder, if you may have just joined us, Red Sox working with the lead here late. Jeff Reardon is back from his injury. He is available if needed. Pitched last night and is getting warmed up as far as the legs and the back go here. He has struggled with that sore back. And speaking of sore, Manny Lee the same after catching the brunt of that foul ball.
That hurts a little bit or a whole lot right now, but wait till tonight, or wait till in the morning when you wake up. Out. This is a point here where you just try to pull. You just try to pull the ball. Oh, that does smart. I mean, that is a direct shot right on that muscle, right on that leg.
Trainer Brent Andrews out with Manny Lee, reaching for the ethyl chloride so he can freeze that sore area, and he'll get a spray of that right now. That local freezing agent that the trainers use to take away that pain.
And it does no good whatsoever.
But it looks good. It looks like Dr. McCoy out there on Star Trek. Anyway, let's get it back to the studio. Here's John Saunders with an update.
Well, Bob and Bill, the Mets and the Cardinals. Cardinals had taken a 4-3 lead. It's now the 4th. Bryn Smith and Kevin Elster off the fist. Thompson comes in, doesn't get anywhere near the ball, so it rolls around out in right field. Oquendo goes all the way out to get it. The ball is coming in, and Elster decides he's going to try for the inside the park. The throw is there, but the tag is not. Kevin Elster with the inside the park home run ties the game 4-4 in the 4th. We're back to Bob and Bill.
When you're hot, the breaks go your way. And the Mets have it all their way in the National League East right now.
They are hot, getting all the breaks. They won a game on Sunday with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning. And Tim Tuffle hits a dramatic base hit with the bases loaded that knocks in 2 runs off of Roger McDowell, who had just been breezing along.
The count is 1-2 as we reset things on Manny Lee. Fastball tails outside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. So the ethyl chloride does no good, huh, when you get hit with a baseball?
There's a trainer, Jeff Cooper, with the Philadelphia Phillies, that when you get hit like that, he doesn't even carry the stuff.
Not even an ice cube or anything?
No, I'm talking about ethyl chloride. He might have ice, but
okay. 3-2 is the pitch.
Plus, Manny, in looking at him too, had his legs so heavily taped. He had his ankles taped up. The stuff doesn't really penetrate anyway. But it looks good, though.
Reaching, Lee to the right side. Quintana boxes it down. That's a play that Jody Reed would have been able to make moving toward the bag instead of Quintana moving away from the bag. Even had he fielded that ball cleanly, he may not have been able to make a throw, and I think Jody Reed is explaining that to him right now.
And especially you have to know who's hitting. You have to know who can cover what. That's an easy play right there for Jody Reed. But again, Carlos Quintana has done everything at first base, but that is an inexperienced kind of a play right there.
Well, I know exactly what Jody said to him. He said, you've got the best second baseman in the American League behind you. Don't make that play.
And he does, too. And I wouldn't be surprised if Jody Reed didn't tell him that.
Here's Mookie Wilson taking one over a bit low. Manny Lee struggled a bit in his run down the baseline, but looks okay enough to stay in there. Mike Squires coaching there for Toronto with a close eye on him.
And in the meantime, maybe the Toronto Blue Jays go and they get the break that they need right there.
Well, one thing is for sure, Bill, with Lee getting on there, barring the double play, the Red Sox, to win this game, will have to face down through the Blue Jay order to at least Fred McGriff. And Joe Morgan, aware of that, will get Jeff Reardon to work very shortly out there. Reardon is now up and walking around outside the bullpen dugout. He would prefer not to have to go to him until maybe the 9th inning, considering that he pitched last night. If needed, Jeff Gray is ready.
This really goes to show you the kind of makeup that Jeff Reardon has. Although Jeff Gray is in the bullpen, he came up to Joe Morgan. He came up to Joe Morgan with 5 minutes before the game started and told him, hey, I'd like to get in there. I'd like to go. And Joe was a little hesitant, but he had to use him in that situation. And Jeff, although he gave up a home run, did get a save.
Two and two to Mookie Wilson, who as a right-hander this year is hitting only .204. And he strikes out.
Mookie Wilson hurt his thumb 2 days ago, and in those swings and watching Mookie is just not swinging the bat well at all. He's just not reacting to it, and he clearly went around on that ball.
Bill, you've made the point several times over the last week that this Toronto lineup is potentially the most dangerous in baseball because of the switch hitters. But if you can get them over to the right side, they are considerably weaker than they are from the left side, with the exception of Junior Felix. He's hitting, well, actually, he's hitting .231 right-handed. The exception to the rule is Manny Lee, who's hitting over .38. He's on base. All the other three, Wilson, Felix, and Fernandez, are hitting much lower right-handed than they do from the left side.
That's a good point, but still the matchup isn't there. It's still lefty against righty or righty against lefty.
Jim Acker has been up for the better part of an inning. The fact that he's still throwing would indicate that David Wells might be through for the night. Cito Gaston, the Canada Baseball Man of the Year, based on what the Blue Jays accomplished after his turnaround of that team last year. That should be two. That's the easy 6-4-3, and the Blue Jays are gone in the 8th inning. Red Sox hold on to the 3-0 lead. The Budweiser storyline from Boston tonight: good hitting and good pitching by the Red Sox. Wes Gardner outstanding into the 7th inning with only a 2-hitter. Carlos Quintana with a 2-run homer. Earlier, Tom Bernatsky with a big RBI, and not a good night for Tony Fernandez, though the Toronto starter David Wells did pitch well after some early struggles and gives way now in the bottom of the 8th inning to right-hander Jim Acker.
Jim Acker is sort of what you see is what you get, is sort of a journeyman. He's 1 win, 2 losses, but does have 1 save and has a respectable 2.96 ERA. Throws a little running fastball, as you see there. Good fork ball.
Acker, a ground ball pitcher, former Atlanta Brave, acquired by the Jays from Atlanta after Dwayne Ward got overworked a bit last year, and in almost 30 innings of work had a very good 1.59 earned run average, but gives up a leadoff single to Jody Reed. That's the 7th Red Sox hit. Through 7 innings, David Wells gave up 6 hits, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts, 3 runs, and stands to lose his 2nd game of the year.
Good high fastball that Jody stays on top of it and spanks it into left field. That's a bad pitch there by Jim Acker to throw some good running balls and then to come up and throw just really a nothing fastball up around Jody's eyes.
Mike Greenwell with a 1-for-2 night, on base a couple of times, and he's got the average up to 270 now. He's not exploding yet, but he's stirring out of his season-long slump. And he's probably happy to be watching a right-hander out there for the first time.
Yes. Although he did hit a quality curveball down off of David Wells. As we see your stopper. This is the man that you pay all the money to. This is the man that you got to go to, maybe in the 9th inning.
Little pool cue shot by Greenwell. He'll chalk it up and go to work with a count of 2-1.
And that's strictly a muscle kind of a swing. That's strictly a swing where you're really trying to hit a home run and you're out front so far instead of just being nice and relaxed, see the ball and use your hands. One way to use your hands in hitters out there, one way to be able to use your hands, if you concentrate on hitting down on the ball, the barrel of the bat normally always gets to the ball first. If you concentrate on hitting up on the ball, that means that you lead with your hands and your club head is still back, and it's awfully tough to get that club head out, and that's why he's been getting jammed so much. But he's so strong that he can muscle that ball sometimes off of him.
Double play ball. Lee, Fernandez, and McGriff. 4-6-3. Jays turned their 3rd DP of the night.
Good telling fastball away that Mike Greenwell is trying to pull instead of staying on the ball. Watch how quick Tony Fernandez is right there to get that ball, get it out, and get it over to Fred McGriff.
Bases empty, 2 outs, and a 1-strike count to Tom Brunansky. His 1-for-3 represents an RBI double that is the difference in the ball game. It came back in the 1st inning. So Brunansky with 24 RBIs in 43 Boston games, after 2 in 19 in St. Louis. I really thought the Cardinals had one of the better lineups in the National League, with him hitting right along with Guerrero and Willie McGee. And it just didn't happen for Tom in the big ballpark there. High fly. This one will not threaten the monster. George Bell will take it, and the inning is over. A hit and a double play. Nobody stranded. To the 9th we go. Red Sox trying to nail it down again at home. Dalton, Massachusetts native Jeff Reardon pitching close to home late in his career, and he's on here in the 9th inning to nail it down in quest of his 12th save as the Red Sox lead it by a score of 3-0, coming off back problems, Bill, that had him shelved for about 2 weeks, and they initially thought it might be very serious and might keep him out for an extended period, but Reardon has bounced back.
He sure has. He did get the save yesterday, although giving up a home run to Kelly Gruber, who he'll face hitting second. Jeff Reardon is one of the premier saviors in baseball with 276 saves, 4th on the all-time save list. He now has 11 saves. He throws a good fastball, and the thing that's really helped him a little bit, other than his fastball, he's come up with a pretty good slider or big curveball that sort of locks some of the right-handed hitters.
Tony Fernandez, followed by Gruber and George Bell. So this is where the savers, if you will, the short men, make their big money in the 9th inning against the best hitters in the game. In a ball game that is within reach for Toronto, but tonight they've never been able to have more than 2 runners on in any inning, and they only did that once. They've only managed 3 hits in 8 innings. Fernandez has fanned 3 times. Looked like Reardon took a little bit off that one, choked it back and got it on the inside corner. 0-2.
Well, the label on Jeff too, and he was a big success with the Montreal Expos, and then when he went to Minnesota, continued success. But the knock on him was everything was the same speed.
Breaking ball bending inside.
And you kind of see him grimacing a little bit with pain on this pitch. And this is one of those pitches, curveball here, that because of inactivity and a stiff back, I guarantee you Jeff Reardon was trying to backdoor that slider, trying to hit that outside corner with that slider. And when you don't bend your back, that's what happens right there.
Looping liner, caught on the hop by Rivera, threw him out. Rivera thought about going for the shoestring catch and was content to short hop it. Tom Gordon for the Royals. Ryan Holman for the Mariners out in the Kingdome in Seattle at 10:30 Eastern Time. Steve Physiak and Dave Campbell standing by for the nightcap of our Tuesday night ESPN doubleheader. Mariners are 10.5 back of Oakland in the AL West. The Royals still a shocking 14.5 back as they try to right that ship that's been wandering aimlessly throughout the year. Kelly Gruber 0 for 3. Reardon working quickly. A ball and a strike.
As a manager, you can always manage and to protect yourself. You can always make moves that you're never second guessed. Right here is he could have left Murphy in to face maybe one guy or so and then come in and get Reardon. But right here is where you pay Jeff Reardon all the money, and when you pay the guys your stopper, this is where you come in and you say, hey, I went with my best guy that I had in the bullpen. That's all I can do as a manager.
Breaking ball misses up and in. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Now if he can throw Kelly Gruber a high fastball here, he'll get him. But as we had said before, that a lot of these hitters are slider ball kind of hitters.
Into the corner for extra bases.
As that was.
That was a hanging breaking ball, and Gruber made Reardon pay. And this situation gets a little interesting with George Bell due up, and in the on-deck circle, the potential tying run in Fred McGriff.
It's still not over yet. These Blue Jays have a good team. The Blue Jays battle you. Here's one of those hangers right there. It's a good thing that Gruber did not hit back-to-back home runs off of Jeff Reardon. And again, when you have a bad back, it's really tough to extend. It's really tough to bend your back so you can get that sharp bite on the ball.
George Bell with Gruber at second. Bell walked his last time, but has hit 2 other fly balls.
A very interesting move here if George Bell gets on with Fred McGriff and John Olerud on deck.
I think we'll see Tom Bolton if that happens, given Reardon's condition.
I think so.
Otherwise, maybe not. Reardon nowhere near the plate with that one. George Bell, 17 home runs, 56 runs batted in. 3rd in the league with those RBIs. Breaking ball hangs up and in. 2-0.
And Jeff Reardon has always been, even though he is a big closer of the stopper, he's always been a cardiac kind of a pitcher for a manager because he pitches behind so many times.
Now he's way behind. It might be 1 pitch away from being out of the game, with a couple of big left-handers coming up. tying run to the plate in the person of Fred McGriff. Boy, what a decision for Joe Morgan.
And I think he'll keep him in. He'll keep him in again because he is a starter. The only thing that's kind of troubling to Joe Morgan is, and I'm surprised that the pitching coach hasn't run out or said something, but Jeff Reardon's been around for many years, that Jeff Reardon hasn't even come close to throwing a strike. Now, if you're Fred McGriff here, don't get too anxious. Wait back. Wait on the ball.
Popped him up. Jody Reed to the outfield grass. 2 down, and a huge man retired.
And not a good piece of hitting at all by Fred McGriff. In that situation there, and it's easier said than done, in that situation, Jeff Reardon did not even come close to throwing a strike to George Bell. So why not wait and let Jeff Reardon make a mistake on you? In that situation, you're a little too anxious at the time. You want to tie the game up, but let Jeff Reardon, and possibly Jeff Reardon gets out of this now. Just because of that one indecision in Fred McGriff and to go out and swing at the first pitch and not give Jeff Reardon a chance to get in trouble.
Olerud with a strikeout, a liner, and a grounder. Coming up next, Royals at Seattle at 10:30 Eastern Time on ESPN. Jeff Reardon trying to put this one away.
And I can't believe with 2 outs, one of the biggest games of the years, and you don't hear hardly any of the Boston Red Sox fans. They should be up on their feet screaming and hollering right now. Here they come.
At the letters, a ball and a strike.
I guess they've seen it happen so many times before that they just don't want to take anything for granted.
If Boston is to contend for this division title against the talented Jays of Cito Gaston, a healthy Jeff Reardon excelling in these situations is a must. And this game is over on a liner right to Quintana. After 15 straight losses at home to the Blue Jays, the Red Sox win 2 in a row, Bill, with Boddicker and Clemens pitching the next 2 evenings.
And Toronto does have their work cut out for them. And the thing that we had talked about before is that the ability of the Boston Red Sox to come up with a pitcher when they need it. Today, Wes Gardner, our hats off to Wes Gardner for going out and doing one masterful job.
Mets and the Cardinals on ESPN tomorrow night, 8:30 Eastern Time. Some of you at 7:30 will see the Indians at Baltimore on ESPN. For Bill Robinson, Bob Carpenter from Fenway. Reardon saves it for Gardner. Red Sox beat the Jays 3-0. Good night, and John Saunders is back your way after these messages.